girl called Jack, which I started writing when I was unemployed last year, after a local councillor said that druggies, drunks and single mums were ruining the town. Now, as a single mum myself, I was outraged by this, and I started to write about my experiences of looking for work as an unemployed single mum living in the town centre, and it quickly started to encompass local issues and difficulties with finding work and other challenges that I face. Food banks are places where food is distributed to people who need it. Usually those people are there by referral. You can't normally turn up to a food bank unless you've been referred there by a doctor or a social worker, school liaison officer, short start children's centre worker or someone like that. And food banks distribute food to people who need it. One of the largest food bank organisations is the Trust, who distribute parcels of food that they call 3 days of emergency food to people that need it. I'm 25 years old and I was 24 when I was referred to using a food bank for help. I was a young single mother of one son who's 3 years old, and at my local food bank the people that used to attend with me were young mothers with pushchairs and other young people. So food bank usage isn't just confined to one social group or one group of people, but it does affect everyone from young people like myself right through to the elderly. Food banks were virtually unheard of before the global economic crisis in 2007, but their use is increasing all the time. The Trust, one of the largest providers of food banks in the UK, reports that they're opening 3 new food banks every week at the moment, and their figures have gone from feeding around 60,000 people in 2010 to feeding about 350,000 people over the last year. A recent Oxfam report called Walking the Breadline states that over 500,000 people in the UK are currently dependent on food banks. So food bank usage is definitely increasing, and it's not an issue that's going away. It's deeply concerning that so many people in the UK are hungry and hungry enough to be referred to food banks for help, and even more concerning that nobody seems to be presenting an alternative to food banks. While the food banks are there, we have politicians like Lord Freud saying that people are only turning up to them because there's free food being handed out, which is almost a denial of the fact that there's any real need. It's concerning that people are in situations where they can't feed themselves, they can't feed their families, that they've lost their benefits or have such little income that food, which should be a priority, is something that people can't afford to pay for. People who use food banks tend to cite benefit delays or changes to benefits as the reason why they're there, being on a low income, unemployment, but at the same time there's other factors such as the rising food costs and food inflation. Levels of unemployment throughout the country mean that there are millions of people chasing a few 100,000 jobs, so there's always going to be high levels of unemployment. More people are unemployed and there are cuts to the welfare system, there's always going to be people who can't afford to feed themselves and their families. I currently write recipes on my blog using staple ingredients that I got from my local food bank, like tins of beans and chopped tomatoes and other bits and pieces. My weekly food shop came in at around £10 a week when I was unemployed because I taught myself how to do that. My favourite recipe on my blog is a chickpea and apricot curry, which I make with tinned peaches instead of apricots these days because I found that peaches are cheaper. It comes in at around 23p per person for a portion, so I just make a huge batch of it and freeze it. I also like my chilli recipe, which comes in at around 30p a portion. So my solution, I've always said we need to not just pull people out of the river, we need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in and what the underpinning issues are that are causing people to be using food banks in the first place. And that's right from lack of jobs, lack of social housing, changes to benefits, cuts to benefits, people seeing their income stopped, delays in wages. So my solution would be to sort out the financial cash flow of people, as in people who see their benefits stopped and then can't get crisis loans because crisis loans have been abolished, and make sure that everyone actually has enough money in their pocket to feed themselves and their families.